kick things off, I'm a digital marketing expert. I focus on websites, SEO, and other areas of digital marketing. And this is part 2 of a WordPress series to look at the practical approach of updating your own site. So last week we looked at what everything means, and now we're going to look at how you can apply that, and actually when you go in the dashboard, how you can start updating your text, your images, etc. And then finally a look at Elementor and how you can build your own site using like a visual builder. Some of you might have heard of the term WYSIWYG, or like what you see is what you get. And it means that rather than using code, rather than using all the jargon, you can just drag and drop and have like a really nice, easy interface. And that's going to be the end of this session and the focus for the next session. But yeah, so I'm now going to share, there's a presentation, and I'll dip between the presentation and the actual WordPress itself to show you the difference between them. So again, today it's really like a kind of a hands-on approach of WordPress. This is actually me and Poppy at the Maker Station in Brentford. I don't know if any of you have been there. It's a really nice little co-working space just below kind of Brentford Station. There we go. So again, quick overview. Last week we looked at the fundamentals of a website. So you'll need obviously the name of your website, the hosting, the management system, and then all of the features like the plugin, the theme, the page builder. This is everything that comes together to create your business site. I'll also can share a link with you if you want a recap of all of that in detail. There'll be like a YouTube. I'm just also meeting Albert. And so then from that, we're now going to take, again, practical approach, how you can edit your pages, your media, and your content, looking at which plugins you should install and how to do them. If you're looking to brand, how to add a logo, straplines, and make sure that all of your branding is on point. So looking at your theme, so how to give a bit of a style and a bit of like a unique layout for your website. Then global fonts. That just means you don't have to redo lots of typography. Everything's done for you. Just going to check the rating one more time. And then obviously how to back up your website. So if you make all the changes, you want to protect it and make sure it's not lost. And then finally, what you would be doing with Elementor, so how you would physically design your site. So to start with, you've got the WordPress dashboard. Most of you have probably had a look at this and thought like, what the hell's going on? Why is there 50 things down the side? What should I be doing with it? As like the end user, you'd only ever really touch posts, media, and pages on the top left. So I'm going to go into a site I'm working on. And I'm going to go back to the dashboard. There you go. So you can see here, similar kind of layout. You've got posts, media, and pages. And this is really the heart of where your content's going to live. So when I'd build a site, I'd start by building out the pages. So you go to pages, all pages. And then you can see a list of everything that you've created. And you can see I'm using Elementor. So each one says Elementor. And then you click Edit with Elementor to update that page. So once you do that, that would give you, that's how you would get in the front end of your site, and you start adding images, making everything look nice. So that'd be pages, select it, and then edit with Elementor. And we'll come back in a minute on how to actually use Elementor, like the very basic level. Your media is obviously where all your images, your content, your logos go. It's really, really important to use small kind of, as small as they should be images. So there's a website called bulkresize.images.com, and that'll allow you to not have huge DSLR images and too much basically weight on your site. When you click on one of these, you can actually go in and edit like the alt text, the image, everything else. The alt text is very important for your SEO. So whatever the image is about, it's important to add in the alt text there so Google knows what you're looking at. Just going to come out of this now and go back. And then finally posts. So this would be your content and your blogs. This is separate to pages. So this would become like an archive. So you'd have a list of all of your posts over dates basically. And you can simply go into posts, add new, and then you would start creating the post. You could do it the WordPress way. This is kind of the standard way, fill in your title and use these kind of simple blocks to add in paragraphs and images. or you can opt for Elementor. Again, creating content in Elementor is normally like a bit more visually appealing. So I'd always opt for this option to use Elementor and then to use all the system that they've got here. The second thing is plugins. So obviously once you thought about the menu, you got your pages down, you need to add some plugins to give you functionality. There's hundreds of thousands of plugins. There's every possible thing you could imagine. If you want to do a membership site, a store, presentation, whatever it is, there's probably a plugin for it, or you can build a plugin for it. It's important to look at the ratings they've got, when they're updated, and how many people are using them. Basically, the more popular they are, the more well received they are. It means they'll get longer support. So, for example, Elementor has 5 million people using it, and it has like 50,000 5-star reviews, which really means that it's not going to drop off anytime soon. People are going to keep supporting it, keep engaging with it, and there's a good community around it. So if I just go to plugins, you can see here the plugins that are currently on the site. Everything that's in blue is installed. Everything that's white, I'm just testing at the moment. So you've got for your backups, membership directories, your builders, Google Analytics, event calendars, SEO, extra design features, Google Search Console, and then some new testing I'm doing. Every new element of your site would come in the form of a plugin. And then, so once you've kind of built the pages, you have a feel for like what plugins, what features you'd like. You then look at your branding. So I was working with Claire actually yesterday, looking at updating her logo and her strapline, etc. And you would do that within your theme customizer. And you can see here there's this little blue, see where the search bar is, it's called a favicon. So when you go to Google, you'll have that little icon which will show what the page is about. And you'd be surprised how important it is to have something branded. So just to put your logo or an element there. I just got a question from Sylvie about, does Elementor suggest what basic plugins your site needs? They have a couple of preferred ones, but I'd give you a list of everything from your security to your SEO to your design work. Again, it's a case of trial and error. So looking at trialing a plugin, seeing how you get on with it, and then maybe looking for another one. But Sylvie, if you want to email me what you're looking to do, I can recommend some plugins for you. So again, if we come out and we go to appearance and then customize, this shows you, this is for your branding. So if you wanted to look at your site identity, that's where you put your logo, your title, your strapline, and your favicon. Again, down there. And you can edit that at any point. There's no restrictions on that at all. If you go back to customize, that's also how you would look to edit your menus, your widgets, and some basic settings. We'll come back to that in the next session. For now, it's just really site identity, just so you can give a logo and an idea of what your branding, what your site's about. So I'm going to go back, and the next thing really is to look at your themes. So we're kind of piecing everything together. So you're looking at starting the site for the first time, creating your page, looking at your plugins to make your page work, and then giving it branding. And now it's to give it the look and the feel. So this is the style and the layout of your site. Again, there's hundreds of themes. Personally, I use the Hello or Ocean WP, but that's like working with a blank canvas. If you want something more structured, something where all the columns are already in place, you can just search for them here, or you can use something called themeforest.com, which will give you all the different themes. So again, I'm going to pop back out and show you what that's like. I'm sorry it keeps going into the small presentation for PowerPoint. I don't know how to keep that as a full screen. So if I go to appearance and then themes, this is the Hello theme, and this literally for Elementor, it just gives you a completely white blank slate and you work on top of that. But if you were looking for something a bit unique, or maybe if you're doing a newspaper site or you have a particular style in mind, you can go down to these and you can pick one that's pre-laid out for you just to make the initial steps a little bit easier. So everything here works in blocks, and you could update and move these around as you wish. So you could change the layout and the number of blocks you would have, but it's there waiting for you. It gives you that first step, so you don't have to think of the design from scratch. And again, that's under appearance and then themes. And then a lot of people, so they'll start by, I know especially with Claire as well, we started with one font and one color, and later down the line you decide to change the font or change some of the branding. The example here, you can see the link colors, the H1s, the titles, the body text. So rather than updating every single piece of text, in Elementor there's something called global styling. So you can put it all as a basic font. Once you know what you'd like, you can update them here, and that will copy across for every single page on your site, every page, post, any of the front end that the user will see. The most important would be your links, H1, H2s, and your body copy. And that's where you'd update the text color, the font, and the size. And it saves hours of going back and forwards and chopping and changing things. And again, that only comes in Elementor. That's not possible with any other builder. The other thing, so once you've spent you probably spent like a weekend or quite a few hours building your site. Maybe you just want to save a copy of it and have like a safe version for later, just in case anything does go wrong. So there's a plugin called All-in-One WP Migration, and all you would literally do is install that, and you would export a copy of your site. It's a one-click export, and it just pulls everything together into a single file that can be then uploaded as a single file. So, for example, when I build a website for someone, I would take a copy of what I've done. So if they ever make a mistake or if they delete something by accident, there's always that recovery option. And it's a free, quick plugin. It takes about 2 minutes to give you a full backup of your site. Just to note, that's not a regular backup, so that's a one-off. You have other plugins that would do a regular backup, say every week or every month. They would keep a backup like on the fly, but this is just a one-off service. And then kind of the heart and soul of the website would be Elementor itself. I know Albert's joined. He's obviously a web designer as well. And I think over the past 6 months, Albert's been using Elementor as well and commenting on how kind of quick, easy, and user-friendly it is. So basically, everything works as sections. You can see this blue tab at the top with the plus, the dots, and the X. So what you would all the elements for your site would sit inside sections, and you would drag and drop them across. So from the left-hand panel, you would pull over a title or a button or an image, whatever it needs to be, and drop it in in the middle, and then you would customize it. So Elementor has the content editor, the style, and the advanced. If you look top left, you can see these 3 tabs, and each of those will help you to manipulate, to manage your site, and to make it your own, basically. For example, if I wanted to change the colors, the fonts, or the kind of the style of that, simply go to style, and you can see here you've got your background color, your width, and your borders. And it's a case of just playing with them to get the style you're looking for. I'm actually going to go back into the new site that I'm building now. I'll just give you another quick look at it. Let's get out of this. So again, you go to the dashboard, you go to pages, select your page, and then edit with Elementor. It's taking a little while because we're on the Zoom call. But you can see here, similar kind of idea. So you've got your main section, and then within that section, these gray squares are columns, and that would allow you to add new columns and sections. So as you go down, each of these is a different element, a different piece of the puzzle, basically. And all you'd have to do is just click on the blue tab here, and hold it, and you can drag it wherever you want it to be. You can duplicate it, delete it, manipulate it however you want. So if I want to swap these over, just take that, bring it there, and that'll be done. For an example, if you click on those columns, you get more features. So you can just copy and paste, duplicate. All of this is about saving you time. So if you create a style you like, you can simply duplicate that and move that across to other pages on the site. This was actually us at the UBC event in Brentford before lockdown. I think Cassandra might even be in this photo in the background. But yeah, if you look on the left-hand side again, I'm going to click on the content, and then you can see on the left you've got content where you can update the text. If you want to hyperlink it, give it a certain styling or size, and then you've got style, and that allows you to change the fonts, the borders, the colors, etc. And then finally advanced, and that's where someone like me or Albert would go in, we'd tweak it and look at padding and margins to kind of make it work for your site. And then again, if when you go from desktop, you might want to have you'll need a mobile site as well. So you click on mobile, and then it gives you this new view. And again, you'd want to go back in and you'd use your styling to make it work on mobile. This is, again, a demo site. I'm just building it, so apologies for any mistakes on there at the moment. But yeah, you can see as you hover over on the right, you do have all these little icons you can click on to then go in and edit each element. I think that's, for now, I'm going to save it. And then next week is going to be, maybe me and Albert can do more of a hands-on of Elementor itself, looking how to build a page, how to use all of the elements you have here. So you've got a range of different elements, images, blocks, price tables, etc., to give you like a head start when you're building your website. I'm just going to save this and then come out, and then we can just firstly say hello to Albert and Azim who joined, and then any questions.
Hello.
Hey Albert, thanks
for
joining, mate. Albert's a web designer based. You're in Feltham, is that right?
Yeah, I'm in Feltham, yeah. Sorry, you can't see me at the moment.
No worries. And hi Azim, nice to see you again.
Hi there.
I don't know if you guys...
for my late arrival.
No worries. I think, well, the sun's out and also Eventbrite was playing up.
Appearance.
Azim, if you just want to say what you do, I know you're into finance, but maybe give some more details on it.
Sure. Thank you all for being present. I'm a part-time finance director for small businesses that are ambitious to grow, but are too small to justify a finance director on a full-time basis. The idea is that you get the management information that your accountant would provide you in due course, but you get it in much more real time so that you can action things appropriately. It's about running your finances rather than letting your finances run you. But happy to have a chat with anyone who feels they might need some help. I'll put my details in the chat if that's all right.
Yeah, please do. And I was after meeting you at the Chisel lunch break, I was thinking we could potentially do a short session, just giving some tips for people, like basic grants and finance over lockdown. I think that'd be really useful.
Okay. I'll
email you about that afterwards. I've been meaning to this week, but to be honest, it's been so nice. I haven't been at the computer too much.
I was just going to say, I was actually outside, which is why I'm such a disheveled mess, because it's so warm out there. It took a while to recover.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to keep you guys long because it is really, really hot. I've just got a question from Rain about mobile sites. Does the mobile site need to mirror the main website? Rain, it doesn't need to mirror it, but it should have similar branding and reflect it. For example, my mobile site is a shortened version of my main site. So you wouldn't have so much copy. You might have smaller images and titles, and you want it to be basically short and snappy. So who you are, what you do, and why they should act with you. And then just refrain from using like long paragraphs on mobile because people will get put off. But again, in the next one, we'll go back to responsiveness and how you adjust your site from desktop to tablet to mobile. Elementor is really good for that because it gives you quick and easy visual ways to do it. You don't have to use coding or look at the page width or anything like that. But yeah, we'll do that in more detail next time.
Okay.
Any other questions about just Elementor, like how to navigate the dashboard or anything like that?
Sorry, forgive me if you've already covered this, Theo, or in a previous session, because I'm new to this. But I'd be interested in how you preview or check that you've actually achieved what you're looking for. You may have covered that before.
Yeah, so
because you talked about manipulating something. I thought that looks great, but what will it look like? When you go back and look at the site.
Yeah, of course. So if you give me 2 seconds, I'm actually going to screen share again, and then I'll just show you that. Basically, that's a really important point. 1 second. So now you should be able to see my Elementor screen for this page. And what's unique about Elementor, why I love it, is you literally see how the page is going to look. So at the very beginning, I said WYSIWYG, what you see is what you get. So as you're editing it, you physically see how it's going to look. Obviously, when I crop it in here, it's slightly squished, but there you get, that is, no matter what device you're on, that is how it's going to look. That's how it's going to be laid out with the text, the fonts, etc. There's also the preview option to give you the live version of the site, and you have your responsive mode. So if I was, for example, images like these boxes here, they're never going to all fit on one mobile screen side by side. So you click, and it will already just populate them top down. And then what you can do is you can go in, edit column width, and if I put this as 50%, and then if I put this one as 50%, they go side by side. Obviously need a bit more tweaking, but you can see here there's a mobile only option like lit up. So that means it's only going to be side by side here on mobile. If I go back to tablet, they'll do 2 by 2, and then desktop in a single line. And that's how you never actually add anything on the right. You always work from the left, and then you see like a true representation of the site.
Thank you. That was very helpful.
Cass, I know you wanted to make some more changes. So is there an example of something I can just quickly show?
Well, no, because you covered the updating of the strapline and the logo, and then where you add in any blogs or anything like that. What if, because I think on my page when you did it, we had an event.
Mm-hmm.
Now there's a blank space there now because that event has come and gone.
Mm-hmm.
It's maybe about filling that in. How do I sort of change the parameters of that page to not include any events, because no events are happening right now?
So again, I'll just go onto the screen. So now you should be able to see Elementor. For example, if this was an event listing, I would personally click in the middle, save it as a template just so you have it for later use.
Okay.
And then you can simply delete it. So if I, as an example, save that as test event, and then that will form part of my templates. Delete. And then if you do want to ever re-add it again, you come down to the bottom and there's this template option. And then you can simply test event, insert, yes, and it's back there. So that, I mean, if you have like a 2-month break over lockdown, for example, that's how you would restore the events once you're back up and running.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
No worries. But I mean, events is a bit of a tricky one. So if you are you using a plugin, or I mean, we'll talk about this later, but if you're going to use an events manager plugin, it'd be slightly different, and I can show you that as well.
Yeah, I'm not sure that I will. I don't know.
We can talk through it. I mean, for mine, I haven't actually put my events, all these power hours, we're at 13 now. I haven't put them on my site yet. I'm thinking of getting an Eventbrite, something that syncs with Eventbrite, and it will literally have the live events there.
Yeah.
They'll pull like
Isn't there
Canva.
one on Facebook as well? Isn't there like a thing on Facebook as well?
Yeah, so when you create an event on Eventbrite, you can select it to automatically display on Facebook. So all the
Yeah.
ones on my Facebook are actually straight from Eventbrite. And then you would share that yourself on like Meetup, LinkedIn, Nextdoor, etc. But you would need to find a way to sync that with your website.
Okay.
I can show you, there's a plugin to do that. I can show you how to get them all all the dots connected basically.
Yeah, because I think it would be nice to have it a little bit more seamless, because I feel like you've got something on Eventbrite and LinkedIn talk to each other, but then if it's on your web page, then it doesn't sync in with Eventbrite and Facebook. It would be good if the three of them
I mean, to be honest,
somehow.
there is a paid plugin. I just because this might be useful for other people, and it's something I'm going to set up myself now. Because to be honest, the power hours take a lot of time to do. So I'm using, I think it's Modern Events Calendar Lite, but you'd have to pay pay about I think it's £80 a year to have that to sync with Eventbrite.
Okay.
So you'd install Modern Events Calendar, and then if I go down here, where have you gone? You've got all your options here. So you Google reCAPTCHA, user profile, active campaign. There is a way to directly import. There we go. So you would import your Eventbrite. Your Eventbrite or your Meetup, whatever the listings are.
Mm-hmm.
And then once the event's taken place, it will take that off the site or put that into your past events.
Okay.
But yeah, again, because that's a pro feature, you would have to pay for that. Albert, I mean, I know you've been loving Elementor the past, I guess, year or so. Have you got any feedback or any comments on it?
Sorry, can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah. Well, Cassandra, I think with her one, you were saying about there is a widget that you can put in to do if you've got a thing that you're talking about that's with, let's have a look, with Eventbrite. What you can do is create little boxes and put a timer on it so you can switch it off and switch it back on automatically.
And is that using one of the plugins?
Yeah, just using one of the plugins. Yeah, it's free. It's a free plugin. I'll have to find it for you though. But yeah, because I saw it last week. Somebody showed it on YouTube last week when I was going through YouTube looking at different things you can do with Elementor, and that might tend to work because it could switch on and switch off on any pages on your Elementor website.
Okay, I mean, if you can share it with me as well, because I've used Modern Events Calendar, Event Plus, Events One, and none of them have it as a free option. So it'd be good to know if there is one out there.
Yeah,
again,
I'll try and see if I can find it for you.
Yeah, definitely. And with Elementor, there's a huge, because there's 5 million people, there's a big support community. So they have like the Facebook group, the LinkedIn groups, where you can post a question to like developers and they can come back to you. So
That's useful to know.
Yeah, if me and Albert can't find it, someone can.
There's always somebody out there.
Exactly. And there's the Elementor free community and the Elementor Pro community. Because there's basically, with my hosting, you get the Pro included, but there's like a paid option of Elementor where you get extra features. It makes it a bit nicer to use and a bit quicker.
Okay.
I know Claire's recently updated her site. Claire, is there anything else you'd be looking to do to change or modify it at all?
Sorry, I'm not on speaker. I think I'm happy with it. I learned a lesson which I just emailed to you, which is someone designed my logo, and then of course when you updated it, it had a white ground. So instead of the writing, I've got almost like an off-white background, and this logo's now appeared in a white box. So that's something that I need to be aware of in terms of probably giving clear direction of what I wanted that logo for.
I mean, when you get a logo from a designer, they give you the JPEG, which is your one with the white background, your PNG, which has no background, and then your EPS, which is the big format. But I was going to email you back and say that I'm happy just to do that for you and just put it on there without the white background.
Thank you. Thank you.
It'll probably be by Monday, basically.
No, that's amazing. But thank you. I'm very happy with the website you did. And I just think it's a learning process, but part of the fun is to be able to tweak it and play around with copy and images. And I don't have a lot of copy, a lot of content at the moment, but it's something that I'd like to learn and go along with and just upgrade slowly.
Okay, cool. And yeah, again, there's so many YouTube tutorials and forums and stuff. If there's something you need, just ask me and I'll send you a link to give you some more information.
Thank you.
No, I think there's something in the chat. I'm just going to check. Oh, that was Azim. Thank you for leaving your details. I'll share that with everyone afterwards. I don't know if anyone else just has a question or an idea, or just something you're looking
If I may, Thea.
Yeah, I just saw your message in the chat.
No, I was just thinking about something Claire just said, which I think is quite important, is that when you pick and mix different things from different places, there's always a risk that they won't integrate well, as I think you were just describing, Claire. How does one avoid things like that? Because that can be quite a problem, because you've done something, you may even have paid good money for it, and then it doesn't deliver what you want. Is that about starting by planning it differently? Or because, often when you go for a specific service from someone, you don't realize the implications of trying to then use that elsewhere. And you may not even have thought about it when you gave them the original brief. I just wondered whether there was a way to kind of plan all of this out so that you know what you're getting is consistent and will work. Certainly, obviously the website bit, you've done a very good job of saying how, you can get plugins and then they will work to do certain things.
I work with a couple of designers. So from a design point of view, you'd always ask for the actual AI file, like the core file and the EPS. And that means that you can you can update it. So there's, if you Google, for example, EPS to JPEG, that gives you a free way for you to download that, and then you can manage it yourself. So I could give Claire a link that would remove that background or would make the changes for her as well. But I think with a designer, always get the core file. So many businesses I've worked with, they've just got the JPEG. It's been 5 years since they got the first branding, and now they're stuffed because I have to recreate the logo from scratch.
Thank you. That's actually very interesting, because that happened to me, but luckily with just within the space of a few months, that someone designed the logo. Mm-hmm. And then I got a free credit from the Fiverr website, which was brilliant. So I thought, okay, I'll use this with a different designer to do the business cards. And then the designer said, oh, but what about the editable file, the AI file and the EPS file? So I had to go back to the other designer, and luckily he sent it to me. But it's true, Albert, that I could have been in a situation of going back a few years ago and not knowing what I was asking for.
Mm. I'm just going to put a note in the chat. So if you're working with designers, Photoshop, basically there's free Adobe pieces of software that everyone uses, and you should get one of the following formats. So there's PSD, EPS, AI, and ID. Just save that somewhere. If you are getting some branding done and they don't give you one of those files, ask for it. Just say, I need it in any one of these. And that's basically the full vector file that you can always work with later.
There's something missing there, Theo.
Yeah,
because I'm just looking at Claire's site. There's the font. There might be a specific font that they've used.
Yes, they have.
Yeah, so if you're recreating this again, you're going to need to know what the font is.
There's a Google Chrome plugin for that where I think it's called font type, and it can just tell you the font that's used.
Yeah, so, and then the image, that's a white background rather than being in a...
Barrow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that should be... Let's have a quick look.
Yeah, it was...
right, they've created the image as a JPEG rather than a PSD.
Exactly. It'd be a
sorry, a PNG. They've not done it as a PNG, so yeah. So that should be a PNG, and then that way the color would match the website.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds technical, and there's all these little acronyms, but you just say, I want the raw file, I want the actual file, and they should give it to you. Don't worry too much about what the software is behind it. Even for me, I still sometimes get ID and AI confused because they do very similar stuff. Any other questions? Any future website projects? Or I know Rain is going to kick off her site next week. And it just, Rain, was there anything else that was missing, or that you have another question?
No, I'm just going to do a mock sort of site because I haven't actually planned what I'm going to put in it. So I'll just sort of do a mock one.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, and sorry, one last thing. I'll come to this next week in detail. Again, another reason why I love Elementor. I'm just going to go back to my Chrome. So, for example, if you go to Pages and add a new page, and it's blank, it's boring, there's nothing there, you have no idea where to start. What you can do is you can go to plus, templates, and then you've got these examples. So because I pay for the Pro version, so you can see here Pro, and that gives you a layout to start with. And they have themes. So if you're a photographer or travel or history or design, whatever it is, you can normally find a theme to suit your style just to get you going.
Sorry, Theo.
Yep.
Earlier on, you had referred to themes at one point and said they give you a head start. Is this something different, or is it basically the same thing but a pro version?
So it's a little bit confusing. So a theme is what you'd install on the site to give the layout, to give the structure. These are actually, they're called templates, not themes, but it creates, in another sense, it creates a theme. So the theme you would use would be hello, and you'd forget all the other themes. And then the template you'd use to get yourself started would be one of these. So for example, if I click and I insert, that's just going to put all of that styling, all of those elements onto the site. But again, all of this will be done in the theme that is called hello. It's just taking a second to load. I think, again, I'm on Zoom. There we go. So Rain, yeah, if you maybe use one of these at first, start tweaking the copy, get a feel for it. And because they've already got these predefined blocks, you can then actually click into that and you can see how it's made.
Yeah.
So that's like, it just gives you an idea of what, again, for you, you'd only ever touch content, I guess, and style, but it will just give you that head start just to get you off the ground.
Okay, thank you.
And also, whenever you do anything, always click publish or update to save it. So down bottom left, you've got this green button, and that's how you would save your work. Cool. Well, I mean, to be honest, it's 33 degrees in my room, and I'm planning to head outside. If any of you've got like a question or come up with something.
I just got a question for you, Theo. You just said you've got the pro version of Elementor. Is that an annual fee?
I've got the developer license. So what I do is I give that to anyone who uses my hosting. I have that included as like a bonus.
Right.
They wouldn't have to pay for it. They have all of those features. So for example, Claire's and John's and Rain's sites, and Cassandra's actually all have Pro already pre-installed. But normally it would be like an annual subscription. I think it's £50 a year for a basic and £150 a year for an advanced.
So you get that. So you get that included with the service then.
Yeah. So that's like a little USP of my hosting. It basically pays for itself because the hosting's 60, the plugin's 50. So it just makes it really kind of affordable and just gets them off the ground.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Sorry, Theo, do you have where to find Adobe Photoshop to use certain aspects of it for free?
So I use Canva. So obviously this is Power Hour 13. Power Hour 5 was specifically on Canva, which is a free tool.
Right.
There's also, I mean, Adobe is amazing, but they have a subscription model now. They used to have a one-off fee, and now it's £50 a month.
Yeah.
Just again, just
you can use Canva. You can get like a free month or two out of Canva. I just finished a free subscription with them, and it's amazing because you just get ready-made templates of PDFs to go. That's absolutely incredible. You just click in an image, drag and drop. I did have problems saving some stuff though, but that's probably just me being a bit dense. So
I mean, with Canva, the free version is good enough for most people. The pro version gives you some extra elements and makes resizing a bit quicker. But for 90% of people, the free version would work. So you just go to canva.com. And again, Power Hour 5 on my website's got a walkthrough of this. And it will just show you, this is how I make all the art for the podcast and the videos and stuff in here. And again, it's just drag and drop. You click on it, click on the element, drag it around. And all the features you need are just up at the top here. Whereas Adobe is a really complex piece of software. If you want to go one level further, what's it called? Affinity. So Affinity costs £25 for life, and it gives you basically a Photoshop, Illustrator, InDesign alternative. So you've got here Affinity Photo, Affinity Designer, which is like Illustrator, and Affinity Publisher, which is like InDesign. And that gives you all the bells and whistles. So if you did want to do some like professional stuff, you could use that on a budget. Or if you're just doing it as a small business, you just use Canva. I don't know, Albert, did you check out Affinity after I mentioned it to you?
No, I've been too busy. I tell you, I've just been a bit busy, so it's on my list of things to do.
Yeah, it saved me what, like £580 a year on Adobe, which I just wasn't making the most of.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, I'll keep switching myself off. Yeah, I've got Adobe, but I've got the old version.
Like CS 5.5 or something.
Yeah, it's the one that you don't pay a subscription.
Yeah, much better.
So once you bought it, that's it, it's yours.
Exactly. Anything else before we close?
I was just going to say thanks, Theo, for arranging this and doing this, because it's been on my mind to do something like this for a little while. And a little bit like what Claire said, I agree with what she said about, setting up your website is one thing, but actually it's a little bit of a journey, because it's not static. It should progress as you progress. And I think I've just been a little bit like, oh no, this is out of my reach and I shouldn't touch it, I don't want to break it. But it's just building that confidence to go in and do small changes and then work up to some of the bigger changes, because that's what stopped me, because I'm like, oh no, it's a website, if I do anything and I break anything, what's it going to look like? And there's just this massive fear about, I'm going to literally break this website and it's not going to function, and I'm going to have to pay loads of money to reinstate everything that was there before. So I think doing the sessions in small bite size, we can pick up on things and get a little bit more comfortable about making small changes. So I will attempt to make some small, just play around with it in the initial stages, and then build up to kind of making the changes and publishing them. Because you can make the changes but they're not published, is that right?
Yeah, you can put them as a draft, so you can put the page as a draft. But for you, it's that all-in-one WP migration. Remember that backup tool?
Yeah,
that will be key. So again, you can do what you want, you can break it, everything, you can mess the site up, but you'll always have that version sitting there waiting for you.
okay.
And we're doing one-to-one training over Zoom and slowly in person. But maybe next week, if anyone wants to join and has another question for Elementor, rather than me waffling on, we can go through kind of check those questions.
Okay.
So if you do want to look at the events plugin, maybe if Albert can share the plugin name, we can work to get that plugin set up.
Thank you. So if I may, Cassandra, what you've just been saying makes me think of something with my finance hat on.
Oh.
These are obviously complex and some of them are quite fiddly things to do. And it begs the question that if this is not your specialty, it's going to take you longer to do than it is a professional.
Yeah.
And at what point does it actually not make sense to do it yourself?
That's the
leave it
thing.
to a professional, because like all small businesses, I imagine that your time is your scarcest resource.
Yeah.
and actually using that in a way that drives your business forward, and leaving some of this stuff to profession. I mean, obviously, I think your point about small changes and big changes is the key dividing issue. Little tweaks are easy to do yourself.
Yeah.
But if there's anything major, it may actually be cost effective to give it to a specialist. Because, I mean, some of these things, obviously, it's quite powerful what you can do, but I imagine it would take me maybe 3 or 4 times as long as it would Theo to do something.
Yeah.
And is that necessarily the best use of my time? Depends how busy you are, obviously. But it's
Yeah.
worth bearing in mind with my financial hat on. And forgive me for going slightly off topic.
No, you're right. It is about the small things, and yeah, anything bigger or more complex, yeah, definitely. Because as you said, you know, small changes will take me much longer than it would Theo. But for me, I just like to know how my site works. I think it's just that whole understanding. And then once I've got that understanding and I can do some small things, when bigger things come along, I'm able to, you know, I would definitely pass that on. Because,
Actually,
yeah.
that's also a very good point, isn't it? It's a bit like the comments about the designer earlier. If you don't know enough to be able to give them a decent brief, then you're at risk. So at least by understanding some of these things, you can at least give a proper brief to someone saying, I'm looking for this, and in outline, I want X and Y and Z, but you do the detail and come back and tell me.
Yeah.
And at least you're likely to cover all the bases. So it's definitely very powerful and very valuable.
Definitely.
No question.
I think it's good. Like, all of these sessions are just meant to give you the option. So, for example, with John, he's been to a few of these sessions now, but he's choosing for me to design his site, but then he's obviously able to then update it. So it's giving you the flexibility to come back and forth.
Yeah.
Is it?
Now I understand what's behind it, and I can now work with Theo. But I'm not going to attempt to create the site myself. But I would like to make a small tweaks to it going forward, just to change a few things, to update a few words, to make it different. And it's nice if I'd be able to do that myself. Then when there's a major change, I'll ask Theo to help me.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Is it wise, if you're just starting up, to design a small website, to get it done by a professional first, and then deal with any little changes later yourself?
So normally people, there's like a £500 package. So that will do 2 years hosting and a site to get you off the ground. And that's same with like Cassandra, just to do the first year, to know what your branding's about, what your messaging is, the kind of people that go to your site. And then again, a year later, you can work out the other features, what you need. It's been quite popular, especially over lockdown. There's lots of people wanting to just get off the ground.
Yeah, and they don't want to be faffing about while they're,
But although if you're kind of tech-minded and you already have like some interest in it, then you might want to do it for yourself. It just depends. And again, there's so much support. Like Facebook is amazing for this kind of stuff.
Okay, thank you.
Cool. So yeah, this will be emailed out to subscribers in a couple of weeks, and it'll be on the site as well. So there's going to be 12, 13, and 14 are all going to be around WordPress, and then 15 is going to be about directing traffic to your site. So once you built the site, using like Google Business and the other touch points to actually get people there, because they're not going to find it. No one's going to just type in your domain name unless you give it to them. So that should be a good one as well. And
that's actually a very good point about your starter module, or whatever you call it, package, because if you are just getting started, those are all the things you've got to do. Make sure you're visible, etc., and you can, if that isn't started off on the right foot, you're not even getting the right metrics to be able to move forward. So I think that seems like incredibly good value, and I shall be talking to you about that in a moment, Thea.
Thanks, Azim.
Anyway, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. I apologize again for being late, but thank you all for participating in today's event. Look forward to the others. Thea, can I get Power number 12 off your website?
It's not ready yet. I still need to edit the video. But it'll be ready in like maybe by.
No, that's fine.
Yeah.
But the next one will be next Friday.
Every Friday, 12 o'clock. Yeah. Like, I've got investment now to do it for another 12 weeks, so it's going to be at least till September.
Okay.
Great.
And there's going to be some co-hosted. We'll just kind of pick and choose. Like, just come when you can, when it interests you.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you very much, Theo. And see you again, everyone.
Thanks, Theo.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Cheers.